This episode of the Gamerheads Podcast is brought to you by Seven Bridges Premium Gourmet Yum Yum Sauce. Enhance every bite with our savory blends of flavors, perfect for meats, vegetables, and crispy treats. Whether you're dipping, drizzling, marinating, grilling, roasting, or snacking, Seven Bridges Yum Yum Sauce takes your culinary experience to the next level. Get yours today and make every meal a gourmet delight.
Hi, I'm Celia Schilling from Yacht Club Games.
Hey, this is James from Megacat Studios.
Hey folks, this is Matt, aka Stormageddon from Reignite and the Fun and Games Podcast.
This is Stephanie from the Boss Rush Podcast and the Boss Rush Network.
Hey, this is Mark and Keon from Bunte Avond.
Hey, this is Sebastian with the ProNerdReport.com and the Single Player Experience Podcast.
Hi, this is Chris.
Mike.
And Garrett from Daylight Basement Studio.
Hey, this is Baron J67 from Level 1 Gaming.
Hi, I'm Jacob McCourt from the Left Behind Game Club, Crossplay Conversations, and Video Game Trivia.
Hey, this is Todd Mitchell from Code Right Play.
Salutations, this is Mike Carroll from Stroll Art.
Hey, this is Jeff Moonen from Fun and Games Podcast.
What's good, y'all? This is Adam from Respawn Aimfire.
Hey, this is Patrick from the Backlog Odyssey.
Hey, this is Rune from Runic Codes.
Hi, this is Andrew from Spalato Bros.
Hi, everyone. Jill Grote here from the Indie Informer.
Hello, this is the Crypt Master, and you're listening to Roger Richie. You're listening to Roger on the Gamerheads Podcast.
And welcome to another episode of the Gamerheads Podcast. My name is Roger. This week I have another member of the Gamerheads crew. Jake is joining me today. Jake, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Jake and I are going to be talking about, well, the news that just came out today. I mean, it's not a lot of news, but it's the announcement of the Switch 2. And I have some thoughts. I'm sure, Jake, you have some thoughts around the Switch 2 as well. Before we get into that, though, I guess before we go into kind of, I don't want to say deep dive because it's only like a 2-minute video, so there's not much we can deep dive with it. But there's a couple things that I think they highlighted that we can talk about. But I guess, what was your first reaction? I'll ask you that. What was your first reaction when you saw the video?
I think my first reaction probably was they know what they did well with the Switch 1, and they stuck with it for the Switch 2.
Yeah.
That it's not. Nintendo's always kind of gone really far with their controller peripherals and everything like that, and this seems like kind of the first time where they're like, why change it too much, you know?
Yeah.
So
yeah, I agree. I feel like it was a safe move. I feel like it was not, and it's fine. It's fine. But you're right. I think they're like, we have something really good here with the Switch. The fact that they call it the Switch 2.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, okay, they're just like leaning into the fact that like, yeah, we know that everybody loves the Switch and we're not going to switch things up too much.
No pun intended.
No pun intended. I talked to Trina actually about this today, and she was like, they should have called it the Switcheroo. And I was like, yeah, that would have been a funny name. But I mean, Are you a Nintendo person? Do you like Nintendo products? Are you a fan?
Yes. Okay. Yes.
So I remember when it's not that long ago, but when the 3DS came out, and then they came out with the new 3DS.
Yep.
I knew some friends that worked at Gaming Generations, and it's a local game store in town here. And they would say, like, people would come in and totally confused with, well, I bought this game and it doesn't work on my 3DS, and like, well, it's a new 3DS game. What does that even mean? Right? Like, that was a botched thing. Wii U obviously was not well received, but I feel like calling it the Switch 2, the only other thing I think that they could have called it was like the Super Switch, because of like Super Nintendo, right?
Yep. Yeah. I think I feel like they're kind of trying to get away from the confusing aspects of their naming conventions for a very long time. So
yeah. Agreed. I think Switch 2 was just a safe move, and the whole Switch is just a safe. It's a safe. The whole thing is a safe move.
Yeah, and I feel like it's The fact that it's like backwards compatible as well,
Yes.
that they've said is a huge thing.
Yes.
Because the past like consoles, it's always like a different type of CD-ROM, or like it's something that it just doesn't connect with the last generation and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So the
yeah.
fact that they're kind of keeping with like the cartridges and stuff like that, I think is really like a really good move, because I know so many people that would have been so mad if like they just kept with, or like they had to switch things up and everything wasn't backwards compatible and everything like that. So
yeah. I wonder if they'll allow people to download games off the Switch Online service. So like a majority of my games are not physical. Majority of my games are digital games. I wonder if I'll be able to download the games. I mean, I would assume that would be the case.
Yeah. So what I kind of read a little bit, and there is a little bit of an asterisk in that trailer when they're saying that most things are backwards compatible. But I think that might be for more games that were focused on the Joy-Con and how the Joy-Con worked. So like the Ring Fit Adventure and stuff like that, I don't think would work with the Switch 2. But I really hope that they kind of just stick with the, like, even if it's the same like Switch or like Nintendo Store and stuff like that, and it's just moved over, I think that would be the best thing for them to do. Let's hope. I mean, Nintendo kind of loves to like come out with an awesome thing and then shoot themselves in the foot in the same
100%
sentence, you know. So,
yes. I mean, I wouldn't mind if they did a fresh coat of paint on the store though, because the store is like not the greatest. Honestly, the 3DS store was pretty good. I thought that was a pretty good store, because they would have things of like games under $10, games under $20, you know, like Zelda games and Mario games, and I was like, oh, this is cool. Like you could just filter based on like your preferences, like
and now like I think even in the Switch store, like if you want to look for like a specific genre of games, there's nothing like that. You have to like go into the search and then like search it by filtered genre and stuff, and it's really confusing and stuff. So maybe they'll change it up, hopefully. So.
So some of the specs, I mean, I shouldn't say specs, some of the things we do know about the Switch, because they didn't announce any specs at all. One of the obvious things is obviously the screen is bigger, which is cool. The Joy-Cons are bigger, so they're going with the Joy-Cons. They're doing snap-ons instead of the slide-on. What did you think of that?
I actually really like it. I don't know if you have the same problem with the Switch, but whenever you put those like the connected thing onto the
you still do that,
like, so it's like
those,
you know, like, so
the strap things.
So like,
do you still have those? I don't even know where mine are.
Absolutely. I have like a bunch of them somewhere. But like if I'm playing like Super Smash Brothers with friends, I'll bring them out and stuff, and we'll all have our own controller. But they're like, I would say like 50% of the time I put them on wrong, and once you put them on the wrong, they're like so hard to get off, and I always punch myself in the gut trying to pull them off, you know. So I think I like the fact that they're just kind of snap-ons instead of the. I wasn't a huge fan of the slidey thing. I kind of felt it was, I don't know, it was weird. I didn't like it. So
No, I agree, and I think there's speculation that it's also magnetic too, so like the same kind of technology that Apple uses for like a lot of their like laptops. I don't know if they do anymore, but at least in the past you'd have like just magnetic plugs, so that way it if it gets bumped, it just falls out. It doesn't like pull the whole computer and smash it, which has happened to me, by the way. But yeah, I like that. I also like the fact that one of my biggest complaints with the Switch is the Joy-Cons, just how flat they are. There's like no like depth to it, right? And this one looks like it has like a little bit more comfort, I guess, from a ergonomic standpoint.
Yeah, I'm interested how strong the magnet is, like like just how strong it is for them to kind of pull themselves off. Like, because I don't know, sometimes I'll just be lying on my back with my Switch in my hands, and I don't know how strong it's going to be if it's just going to fall right in my face and stuff like that. So
I hope not. That'd be awful.
Yeah.
It did look like there is, like, on the back, the Z button, or one of the buttons, I think it is a Z button, that you have to push it down to unhook the controllers. So there must be some kind of pin mechanism to kind of get in as well. So,
well, that's good. Yeah.
The other thing that was interesting, I don't know if you caught this, but there looks like a laser optic thing on the top of the controller, and in the video that they showed the controllers running around like mice.
Yes.
And there's speculation that optic laser thing is really going to be for using it as a mouse, using the Joy-Cons as a mouse.
Yeah, I have heard that, and I would be interested in like what that would be for.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
I don't know, that maybe, I don't know, like why would you need a mouse? But I don't know, maybe I'm saying that now and wait like a year when this, or like a couple months when this comes out, and I'm like, why did I say that?
This is amazing.
Yeah.
So one thing I speculate is, like, could you play games like Balatro or other games that you would play normally with a mouse, like on your PC? Could you use a Joy-Con as a mouse that way, right? So, like, does it lend for more opportunities for Steam games or PC games to come to the Switch that are more user with the mouse? Maybe. I say that and I'm like, that makes sense, but then also I think, but Nintendo doesn't really care about, like, Nintendo's not like, oh, we're gonna make a mouse for developers so that they can, like, port their games right from PC. Nintendo usually is like, no, we have an idea of what we're gonna do with that mouse.
Yeah. I have no idea what the reason for that would be, but
Mario Paint.
Yeah, that would be kind of cool, actually.
It actually would be kind of cool. But it just feels like that feels like such an integral part to the to the Joy-Con that, like, one game would not be sufficient,
No, not at all. Or maybe we're thinking way too into this, that they were just like, oh, it looks cool when they're sliding around. There's no mouse,
maybe, no, they're like, there's no mouse in there. I don't know. We're just playing with all of you. There's nothing in there. It's kind of, I don't know. I guess we'll find out more in April. That's one thing too. Like, there's a direct happening on April 2nd. So hopefully we'll see more in April. The other thing that I thought was interesting is that there is a USB-C connector on top and bottom.
Yes.
And that makes me think, are there going to be things that they want you to hook up to, like cameras or other things on the top of the Switch?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I do think that a lot of people are just going to use it in handheld mode to be able to charge their Switch from the top.
Yeah.
Because I think that was a huge thing that people had an issue with, for myself included,
Yeah.
But that would be interesting if they did add some sort of peripheral for it. Bring back the Game Boy camera and stuff like that,
I mean, maybe that would be their way to handle games where there's two screens and you need a second screen, and then you could just click that screen on top, and now you have a mini screen and a lower screen. That'd be cool.
They bring out like a foldable kind of top screen that folds back.
That'd be cool. That'd be really cool. But obviously they have some idea for that. There is also on the bottom of the Joy-Con, I think it's on the right one. I don't have my Switch. Oh no, I do have this with me. This would show it. Oh no, it doesn't, because it doesn't have that. There's like the home button, and then there's a capture button. It looked like there was another button on the bottom of one of the Joy-Cons. I think it's on the right-hand side, but there's like an extra button. They didn't really explain what that is for yet, but that's there.
I'm looking at it now. I do. Yeah, that's interesting. I don't know if it's like. Yeah, I don't know what that would be.
Yeah. And then what is the infrared thing that they had on the Switch on the bottom of the controller? I think that Ring Fit Adventure used it to track your heartbeat. That might have been the only game that ever used this thing. They're not doing that anymore.
Yeah, I didn't even know that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird. It's interesting. Yeah, I think the big thing is, and obviously you can go connected to your TV. Like the Switch, right? So
yeah, I'm wondering if I think it was the OLED case, or maybe it just never was a thing, but there wasn't like an Ethernet cable, was there, to the
for the Switch, for the OLED Switch? There is.
Yeah. So hopefully that would be like, I hope they kind of bring that over and stuff. I'm also,
it'd be dumb if they didn't, because they already have it on their old system.
Well, that's the thing about Nintendo, right? They love to do this.
Yeah.
So that actually brings me into something. I wonder if the screen is going to be OLED.
I don't know
if they're going to go with OLED, or if they're just going to go back to the LCD and then come out with the OLED version, or maybe they'll have two versions or something like that.
I think they'll have two versions. I think it will be a lot like the Steam Deck, where you can get the OLED or the standard, right? And I bet you that they'll do the same thing for the Switch, and obviously the OLED will be more expensive. I actually kind of hope they do that to keep the costs down on the standard, or if they have a base model, right?
Yeah, that'll be interesting, like, because we do have 3 versions of the Switch technically.
Yes, we do.
So I wonder if we'll have like a light. It would be cool if we had a light version, a regular version, and an OLED version.
Yeah.
So
I don't know how they could do a light. I mean, I guess they could, but I guess the light then that doesn't connect to your TV. So I guess they could do it that way and just be like, there's no connecting to your TV with this thing.
Yeah, and the Joy-Cons wouldn't come off, I guess.
Oh, that's true. The Joy-Cons wouldn't come off.
Yeah.
I I never got a Switch Lite because of the Joy-Con drift issues that the Switch had. I had I have lots of Joy-Cons that are just sitting there because the drift issue. I mean, it sounds like they solved that issue, but I was not going to take my chances with a Switch Lite and be like, oh great, now what happens, right? So,
well, it doesn't, that issue doesn't seem to be just a Nintendo ip I think either, right? Like PlayStation has that as well. So I don't know why it happens and stuff like that. I don't think they even know. I mean, so here's a funny, and
Jake was talking about before we started recording, the fact that one of our first episodes, and it might have been the first episode of the Gamerheads podcast, back in October. No, it couldn't have been the first episode, but it must have been one of the early episodes. The Nintendo Switch launched. I think we knew that Nintendo was going to come out with a new system in October, November when we launched the podcast, and we were like, we're speculating what it could be. When it launched or when we saw what it was in March, I'll admit I was super skeptical. I was like, this is dumb. Who is gonna sit there on their rooftops with the Switch and play with these little Joy-Con things? Like, I still don't think people play that way. Nintendo thinks they do because they have this new kickstand now for the Switch 2.
Yeah.
And maybe with the controllers being a little bit bigger, maybe that's more feasible. But it certainly is not with the Switch, I'll say that. Like, that it's an awful experience. And and this whole idea of like, switching between handheld and TV, who cares? Nobody cares about that. And so I was very super like, this is the death of Nintendo. This is it. This is the worst. Like, they came from Wii U to this. This is awful. And here we are 10 years later, and I'm like, I can't wait for the Switch 2 to come out.
Yeah. I do think that, especially after the Wii U, I think a lot of people were skeptical of what Nintendo would come out with next, but
yeah,
I don't know.
I mean, but even looking back at like the Wii, like, I thought the Wii was like, what is this? What is this controller? What is this thing? And like, the Wii is still one of my top systems played in my household, actually. Like, my kids love the Wii because it's so intuitive.
Yeah.
And like, my 5-year-old can play it really well, right? Like, we play bowling. We play archery with the Wii Sports Resorts. Like, we actually play the first 2 Ultimate Alliance games on the Wii. That's how we have that game. Like, it is funny because there'll be an episode where we talked. I have Luke Lewis on the podcast where we talk about Indiana Jones games, and Indiana Jones Staff of Kings came out on the Wii, and and it seemed like back then everybody was like, oh yeah, you could do everything with the Wii. You could now use it as a whip, and it wasn't fun playing it with the whip, But like, I was really skeptical of the Wii too, but that thing, I love the Wii, and I really like, once I found out what the Wii was about, I was like, I really want to get one. I got one for our wedding anniversary. Actually, my wife bought it for our first wedding anniversary. And I was working at Best Buy at the time when that happened. That's really funny. But I don't know. I feel like they played it really safe. And I think people would have said, I think Nintendo would say, well, the Wii U, we felt that was safe. Like, we're moving from the Wii to the Wii U. It seems like a logical step. And I don't think we would have the Switch if it wasn't for the Wii U.
True.
But I feel like this is a very, very, very safe move by Nintendo.
Yeah.
And maybe the mouse thing is, maybe there is something to that. And maybe that will be the strange thing that Nintendo Switch 2 has is a mouse.
Yeah.
We'll see. I don't know.
I'm calling it's a red herring.
Yeah. Maybe it is. Maybe it is. Maybe they're like, everybody thinks this will be a mouse, so we'll just have the little mice going across the screen. Haha, they're not really mice. We'll see.
Yeah, we will.
I'm a parent, and I watch this and I think to myself, I don't know if this is enough for majority of parents my age to be like, oh yeah, my kid needs a Switch too. Mm-hmm. And I know we're going to get a Direct. But like, was this enough for you to be like, oh yeah, I'm sold? Like, or at least hook you in more? Do you think there was this enough for it? Like, does this meet your expectations, I guess?
No.
Okay.
And I don't think I'm there yet. I I have a Switch OLED that is collecting dust right now. So
really?
I feel like I need to see what games are coming out for it, because obviously that's the most important, right? So also, what games are going to be only for the Switch 2?
Yeah. That's a good question.
Yeah, because so one of the big things I'm looking forward to from Nintendo is the new Pokemon, the XY remake. It looks like it's kind of similar to Arceus and like that one. So when that came out, they said they kind of worded it strangely, and it said that it will be coming out for both consoles.
Oh, really?
Yeah, this was like 8 months ago or something like that. Like, it was a while ago. They I don't think they said both consoles, but they said that they said something, and people were like, "Oh, this kind of means that they're talking about how it will be available for the Switch and the Switch 2, right?" So it does seem like there are future games that still are going to be coming to the Switch.
Yeah.
And like, I guess we'll have to see what the graphics are like and stuff like that, because obviously that's a huge thing for Nintendo right now, because their console is almost 10 years old and it can't keep up with what like PlayStation 5 is coming out with, an Xbox. And I don't think it will. I don't think it'll be as good as that, but like I think it's definitely showing its age now, right? So
Hey, but being backwards compatible, I mean, they could say every game you play on both systems. So
right now, right? That's true. Yeah. So
it'll be interesting to see if there's a improvement on the old games on the new system, right?
Yes,
like if it actually does, if you can tell the difference. And in what I read was, I don't know if you saw this, but they did say that this will fall in, like, the Switch 2, they think will fall in somewhere like the last gen, like PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and Xbox Series S, like that kind of fidelity in regards to the graphics and stuff like that. And they did say that it will be more powerful being docked, which I think the current Switch is more powerful being docked as well, I think. I mean, it makes sense. Why wouldn't it be? So, I don't know.
Yeah, I guess we'll see what it... Like, Nintendo's never really been, like, the cutting edge of graphics. But it's always looked nice. Like,
look at Tears of Kingdom. It's amazing looking.
Yeah, exactly. And it runs pretty well on a almost 10-year-old system, you know? So when they make games for, like, Nintendo makes games for its own console, it's usually quite well done.
They know how to tweak it just right to get the best juice out of their system.
Yes, exactly. So I can't see graphics kind of being like, I think where it's gonna be is more frame rate and just like how much data they can have on a screen, because like I'm gonna talk about Pokemon again, but like the newest Pokemon games kind of look like crap. You know? So so I think they if they can leverage the Switch 2, I hope they do, and they come out with that beautiful Pokemon game that we've all been wanting for 30 years, you know? So
what would you say if that USB-C plug on top was just so that you could connect with other switches and switch your and trade your Pokemon?
Yeah, link cable.
Yeah, link cable. Would you be like, this is cool, or would you be like, this is the stupidest thing? We didn't like it back then, and we don't like it now.
I'd probably like it just because it would itch that nostalgia for me, but the fact we can do that over Wi-Fi now anyways, or even Bluetooth, it would be like the stupidest thing.
Agreed. We obviously didn't announce any games. We do know that Metroid Prime 4 is coming out probably like this year. I think they announced it's going to come out this year. They did show a Mario Kart at the end.
Yes. Yeah.
That is a new Mario Kart.
Yes. Yeah.
And that looked cool. There was, I think they said, what was it, 24 spots?
Yeah, that's what I heard too, which is pretty cool. Are you a big Mario Kart person?
I am. I love Mario Kart. Yeah.
Okay.
I love that. I loved the fact that in Mario Kart they were including other characters like Link, and Animal Crossing, and the
Squid people,
the
Inklings,
I loved that. And then later on they started coming up with more tracks, right? I thought that was really cool. Like, I don't remember how many tracks there's. Like, was there 50 tracks now or something? It's a crazy amount of tracks that are on the deluxe 8 deluxe.
Yeah, 8 deluxe. Yeah.
So I'm excited for that. I'm excited for new Mario Kart. I suspect there'll be another Splatoon at some point. Do you play Splatoon? Are you a Splatoon guy?
I played, I think, Splatoon 2. That was the one that was on the Switch. It was cool. It wasn't really my type of game, I don't think. Like, it was, I really liked it was like the salmon dash or whatever.
Yeah.
But like for this Splatoon 2, it was like only on weekends or something. It was something weird where you could hardly
the
play
run
it.
Stuff.
Yeah. So I didn't play too much of it, but it's a cool idea, and I know it's quite popular. So
yeah. They'll more than likely come up with another. I mean, maybe not a Smash Brothers. I thought maybe they might, but Sakurai said he's done, so maybe not. But I suspect they will. We'll see. Probably, I would assume. I'd be shocked if we didn't see a new 3D Mario game.
I sure hope so.
Yeah, Odyssey looks fantastic on the Switch as well. Like,
it does.
And that was a launch title. That was a launch title 10 years ago.
Yeah.
We have not seen a proper 3D Mario in 10 years.
Yeah. So we're definitely due for one. And I think it would be, if that is a launch title for the Switch 2, and it's only available on the Switch 2, then they've got me.
Yeah. It'd be interesting because I think you're right. I think that would be one way to get people to buy in on it.
Yeah.
But as a parent myself, right? Like, this is the thing. Like, for me, I feel like I kind of don't count because of the fact that I'm like, well, I'm gonna buy it anyway, right? Like, it's not for my kids, it's for me, right? But if I'm thinking of my parents, and we grew up, like, I remember. So I'm old, okay? Like, our first console was technically a Pong machine. That was my first console. Was a Pong machine.
Okay, yeah.
Which counts because that's what it was. But then we got an Atari 2600, and then we got an NES, and the NES back then was $200, like, which I think roughly comes to about $500 or $600. Like,
yeah,
that's a lot of money.
Right.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
And then the Super Nintendo. And I remember my mom saying to me, like, so I was in high school when the Super Nintendo came out. Well, either just entering high school or just right before entering high school. My mom said, we're not buying any more consoles for you. Like, this is it. This is the last console. So every console after that I bought. Like, I bought my own PlayStation. I went the PlayStation route after that. I didn't go Nintendo. I went PlayStation. I ended up coming back. But the Wii was my comeback to Nintendo, actually. Yeah, so like most parents, I think, will be frustrated if Odyssey 2 comes out on the Switch 2. I get Nintendo, I get them doing it, I get why they would do it that way, but I can see a lot of frustration. I saw this, it was an interesting thing. There was a game that I was really into. It was not really so much a game. Well, I mean, it was a game, but it was more of collector things, and it was Disney Infinity. And Disney Infinity, for those that are not familiar with this, it's a Toys to Life game. So you got all these toys, and they had this portal, and you could put the characters on there, and it would come up on your screen. And then what was cool about Disney Infinity was they had like level or game creator, and you could make your own games with elements from each one of those characters' worlds. And then you could share them online, and you could play them. And I made like this Cinderella game where it was a countdown to midnight, and all these enemies were coming, and you had to protect Cinderella. She was like in this case, and you had to protect her from these incoming. And you had the little fairy godmother saying, like, this is, you had to protect her. And there's 3 waves of enemies that came. It was a cute little thing that I made. Mainly because I made it for my kids so they could play it. I thought that was kind of fun. But and then my point of my story, though, was that then they came up with Disney Infinity 2. So the old characters could play on the new platform, but the new platform was only for PlayStation 4. It wasn't for the PlayStation 3 anymore. And parents like threw the biggest fit, saying, listen, I bought all these characters, and I bought this portal, and now you're telling me I have to buy a whole new system so I can play these new characters? Like, this is ridiculous. And I get that. But as a gamer, I'm like, yeah, but I would rather be on the new system, like, yeah. So I don't know. It's a sticky situation. I think the backwards compatible is a big thing, because this will be like, the parents are like, oh, I don't have to throw away all those Switch games. But that being said, it would also say, why do you need a new Switch? You have all these Switch games that plays just great on your regular Switch. You don't need a new one.
Yeah. And you know what? Like, I feel like when the Switch was coming out, I feel like I had this conversation as well with someone about, this doesn't feel like a console for kids. And I think at the beginning it probably won't. It's going to be too expensive.
Yeah.
People aren't going to want to give their 5-year-old a $800 console, handheld console, So
yeah,
like it's like, I feel like it's just going to be something for the Nintendo fans, at the beginning. But I do think that at some point we're going to get to a point where it gets a little cheaper. Maybe they do come out with a light version, stuff like that, where it's like, okay, I'm okay giving this to my 5-year-old who just had a candy
ring
bar
pop,
or something like that. Yeah,
a ring pop and drool it all over your Switch. And I didn't experience that today at all. Not at all. That didn't happen.
Yeah, exactly.
What is this? I don't want to tell you. You're gonna be mad. Just please tell me what this is so I can clean it up. It's a ring pop. Sorry, Dad. Okay. How about no food when you're playing the Switch? Let's make this a new rule. No, what were you gonna say? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, I had my nephew over. He was playing Spider-Man on my PlayStation 5 a couple weekends ago, and I went to grab my controller, and it was just sticky.
Yeah.
Like, where did this come from?
I mean, it's so funny. It's funny because yeah, I mean, obviously we were kids. You know, I know that none of my controllers were pristine. But as I grew older, I'm like, I'm very careful with my electronics, right? And like, mainly because I mean, this sounds awful, but because I'm buying them now.
Yeah, you pay for them. Yeah,
exactly. I pay for them. But somebody paid for them before. It was my parents. I just didn't appreciate it as much.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, for sure.
Any closing thoughts on the Switch 2? I mean, we'll find out more in April, but do you have any final thoughts on the Switch 2?
It was exciting waking up to Nintendo Switch news for once.
Yeah.
I saw a on Blue Sky or something like that, someone said, I think Nintendo is the only people that haven't announced the Switch 2 yet. So.
That's true. Everybody else has. Nintendo is still waiting. That's really funny. I kind of wish that they wouldn't have, because there was, like a very prominent leaker that said it's coming out today. At least the trailer is, right. And I wish they would have waited one more day and been like, "Yeah, we'll show you. We'll show you."
Yeah.
It would have been funny. No, I'm in the same boat. I'm glad that we have the news. I'm surprised it's called the Switch 2, but it's out there. I'm looking forward to see what they have to share in April. I hope that we'll get some hands-on at some gaming conventions. That's what I'm hoping. So
that would be cool.
Yeah. Before we head out, I just want to thank our patrons, Matt, Jill, Sarah, and Adam. Thank you so much for supporting the Gamerheads podcast. And listener, if you like what you hear and you like our show, please consider supporting us. For $3 a month, you can support the Gamerheads podcast. So we're allowed to put on shows like this and do our reviews and travel and do all the things to bring you coverage. So that way, you are well informed. So check that out, and then also leave us a review. So if it's monetary that you can't afford, reviews are free. So leave us a review that helps us grow. Not only because we see your feedback and we're like, oh, this is what people like to hear. This is what they want to hear more of, or they don't want to hear this. Allows us to grow, but then also from a standpoint of the algorithms, that also plays into that. So leave us a review. We want to hear what you have to say. Jake, thank you so much for joining me this week and talking about the new system. This was a fun conversation, and I'm looking forward to seeing what else happens next in April. So
yeah, me too. We'll have to talk about it more in April, right?
I guess. I don't know what else we could do. It has to happen. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Listeners, thank you so much for giving us a listen. Until next week, everyone, stay safe and game on. Bye.